Hey, good morning, traders. I'll try to keep it quick and easy here. I thought it was strange Thursday that the markets held in as well as they did with the Trump comments about firing Powell, and they didn't get rattled the markets a lot worse on Thursday than what they otherwise did. And here we are, first day of the week. They held support on the VIX futures, the VIX and the VIX futures, and we're bouncing off that support again. So we got a double bottom on the VIX off of critical support. And we're breaking critical support on the dollar index this morning, suggesting, more fuel in the tank to the downside here. So, guys, if you think we're coming in here and this is going to resolve back the other direction quickly, I mean, the dollar itself is telling us we still got room down to support. And so I wouldn't want to be getting ahead of getting too excited here before the dollar finds its support. So, to be very mindful of that going forward here. So the markets are down, the dollar's down. The bond markets seem to be somewhat settled this morning. I did notice the ZBs, it's the longest end of the treasuries. We are down 0.5% on the 30-year bonds. Okay, so the longest end of the curve. So it's taking a little bit of a hit this morning. So we have to be mindful of that. See here, we're down here on the 1 hour. If I go on the 1 hour here, I do want to point out this is our central pivot, and we're currently trading right at the bottom edge of the central pivot, even with that being that's our weekly central pivot down 0.5% here. So, it's really not an outside move at all here on the ZBs this morning. It's kind of so, we have to be mindful of that as well. You would think with the news flow we've got going on this morning that the bonds would be a lot worse than what they are. We're actually opening up bullish relative to this week's developing central pivot range. So we're on the bullish side of the trend. Relative to all the inventory that came in last week, we're still on the bullish side here on our versus our central pivot on the ZNs, and then our ZTs. That's our 2-year treasuries. Similar situation. This was actually, so we see a more relative strength on the shortest end versus the longest end of the curve this morning. Okay, so gives you a little bit idea where we're opening here. The short end of the curve, the yields are getting crushed a lot harder than the back end of the curve. Okay, so be mindful of that in today's trading. Then we have the VIX going on this morning. We're gapping up this morning on the VIX off that critical support. This is the buy zone on. We did not break it. Technically this is a double, possibly a triple bottom here, gapping up on that this morning. I had put the weekend video out thinking, well, I was thinking in the back of my mind the fact that here we are even talking about getting rid of Powell, and the markets do not seem to want to panic and break down Thursday, And so I was thinking, well, maybe they do want to come down here and fill this gap before they can get another leg, So that was my theory over the weekend, the fact that, we did have bad news Thursday, and the markets didn't really even react to it. But now this morning they are. So figured that one out. Okay. Uh, that's just a few things I got going on here. We are on the bullish side of last week's central pivot range, so a little bit more uh, bullish sentiment here on the VIX this morning. Okay, on the pre-market front, let me check my ESs out real quick here. I'm gonna try to keep this thing as short as possible here. ESs, and there we go. So we are. Let's see here. Find them real quick. So I want to point out here, guys, last week's low, we're right here fighting that right here, right now in the market. So that's not a very encouraging thing here. And that was last week's central pivot. So be mindful of that. Last week's central pivot here, we're showing some weakness here to kick off the session. So have to be very mindful of that. And know that that would also tell us that we are below the this week's developing pivot. There it is. There it is. Had to get a little bit bigger time frame there, guys. So this is our current, see, 21. Yeah. This right here is our edit. Yeah, no. This is our current week central pivot range. We're well below that. Okay, guys. And that was last week's. And looks like we could be resolving lower. So basically, if we make any lower lows here, then that's opening the door for further downside of the markets. But our risk reward, we do have a critical support area down in this area. And this was also where last week's market maker move. So there's a lot of support right here at the 5200 area. Lots of support in this zone. We're not breaking it as of yet in the markets. Okay, slash NQ. Give a second here for this to load. Well below this week's. Okay. Slightly below this week's central pivot, showing relative weakness. Okay, right into last week's low, just like the S&Ps. Okay, our predictive models now will put us. These are levels, old levels down here. I haven't erased them. Okay, these are old levels. You gotta be careful. These are old levels. Okay. Okay. In here. And the rest of this morning showing relative weakness. Looks like a rejection, a potential rejection early on here, setting up. We'll see what happens here. It does look like a potential rejection setting up here for the Russell, potentially rolling over. We've had a really tightening of the range. Although you have to look at this, how this relative strength here on the Russell, we're not at last week's lows. I mentioned in the video that we might be seeing rotation in the Russell. We've seen a lot more weakness in Megatech, and the Russell looked like it was showing some sort of rotation, and that looks like what's happening, continuing to happen this morning. Okay, let me check my pre-market movers. Top movers this morning. So basically, NVIDIA is our number one. We're sub $100 on NVIDIA. Tesla, we have earnings tomorrow on Tesla, taking a big hit this morning. Palantir taking a big hit this morning. There you go. We're in a topping formation on Palantir. So be very mindful of this. Anything else is standing out here? Once we get down to 200,000, I get a little bit leery about trying to even look at the charts. Okay, guys. So we're getting, fairly light volume now. Any further lower here, so be very mindful of that. But the trade war does seem to be a full swing once again this morning. Okay, I'm just going to call it quits there. The fact that we're already on Monday morning, already testing Friday's lows, does not get me warm and fuzzy inside about buying the dip out of the gate this morning.